for that here.
Jackie Dean.
My contribution to this third reading of the EEZ bill by just reminding the House of a press release put out by the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment a couple of weeks ago, where Dr Wright says she is satisfied that the legislation will provide significant protection to New Zealand's EEZ. Quote, "I'm largely satisfied that this legislation now provides environmental protection to our oceans. I would welcome this much-needed legislation passing into law. It's been a long time coming," end of quotes. And I wonder whether point of order, Mr. Speaker. I seek leave to table this press release by the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, where she congratulates the government on listening.
Order.
And congratulates the government on its good legislation.
I don't need the assistance from the members who were calling out, but we don't table press releases.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But I have it in my hand, and I have it available for any members of the House opposite who'd care to have a look at the Parliamentary Commissioner's view, which is a view which I value. In fact, I have a colleague who'd like to have it now. She's going to read it quietly to herself and pass it amongst the colleagues. Jan Wright is absolutely right, Mr. Speaker. The Exclusive Economic Zone and Continental Shelf Environmental Effects Bill is a good bill. It fills a regulatory gap which currently exists in managing our environmental effects of such activities as offshore mining, petroleum exploration, cable laying, and also things like scientific research in the area 12 to 200 miles offshore. And so, finally, we have a government who is willing to address the regulatory gap, the legislative gap, which was left behind in the 9 years that the Labor Greens government failed to even consider, along with a lot of other things they failed to consider, like water. So this government is not afraid to deal with the hard issues. And today we have brought to the House a bill which not only is widely supported in the community, but the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, whose opinion I do value, has given it her approval. So this bill is not, Mr. Speaker, about pitting the economy against the environment. It is about responsible management of our oceans. In Clause 11, the bill gives effect to our obligations under the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea to manage and protect the natural resources we have in the exclusive economic zone. It's worth noting also that UNCLOS provides coastal states like New Zealand with exclusive rights over all resources in the EEZ, while preserving pre-existing navigational, and that means peaceful passage, and other rights in these areas. So UNCLOS is quite a wide agreement which we are giving to effect to in this bill. UNCLOS sets rules for activities like the conduct of scientific research, and it also gives effect to duties regarding the management and conservation of fisheries, and also the protection of the marine environment. The Environmental Protection Authority will be the decision maker for all consents, and all consent applications will be decided by that body within a statutory time frame of 6 months for the marine consent process. And it was interesting, the previous but one speaker from the Labor benches who quote, thinks it's good to look at these applications on a case-by-case basis. Well, yes, it is. And the good news for that member is that the EPA will be the body that will be considering those applications. So while the bill sets up the general framework for the regulatory system, specific controls and standards will be set out in subsequent regulation, and there will be a transitional period enabling planned activities to proceed in the 2013-2014 season. Regional councils will still be responsible under the RMA for regional coastal plans and consenting activities for up to 12 nautical miles offshore. The EEZ bill never did intend to be the RMA of the seas. The RMA was designed for predominantly land-based activities, and although this bill has adopted a similar purpose clause to the RMA, thanks to a good minister who is prepared to listen to submissions, there are several reasons for a slightly different legislative approach. Now, first of all, number one, the definition of environment is narrower in the bill than it is in the RMA. The RMA refers to physical resources like buildings and roads, and also refers to people, communities, things like amenity values, social conditions. The EEZ bill's definition of environment refers only to the marine natural environment, including their ecosystems, and there is a fundamental difference which seems to have escaped the Labour members on that. Secondly, to our international obligations, particularly those under UNCLOS. UNCLOS grants New Zealand limited sovereign rights and sets limits on what the Crown can regulate. For example, the Crown has very limited abilities to interfere in marine scientific research carried out by foreign flagged ships. Clearly, the RMA has not got sovereignty over this part of it, so UNCLOS, the EEZ bill, has to provide for these activities to be permitted in accordance with UNCLOS. Because the rules are set out in UNCLOS, the use of the RMA framework is clearly inappropriate in these activities. Mr. Speaker, the EEZ area of ocean is 20 times New Zealand's land area and offers us significant economic opportunities, but we must also ensure that we have robust laws in place to also protect the environment. The Exclusive Economic Zone and Continental Shelf Environment Effects Bill does just that, and I commend it to the House. Thank you.
The time for this debate has now expired, so the question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party. New Zealand First.
8 votes in favour.
Māori Party.
3 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 vote opposed.
Act New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
The ayes are 72, the noes are 49. The motion is agreed to.
The Economic Zone and Continental Shelf Environmental Effects Bill, third reading.
Call on Government Order of the Day number 2.
National War